Hey folks, I've got quite the tale today. In spring of each year, it's a pretty exciting time in TLP land in Everquest, as that's when they announce the rule set for the next year's TLP. This sort of speculation and lobbying goes on all year, as you can see here on the forums, even in August. But it becomes especially pronounced when we're nearing those announcements. Well, in 2022, they really thought up a doozy, which is Vaniki. For the purposes of this video, we're going to credit Scuzz for suggesting this rule set. I know it's not exactly what he proposed nonstop for like 3 years at least, but we're going to credit or blame him here for it in any case. So the main idea of the server is that they release content always higher than the level you can get to. It's a bit wonky at the start, but that's generally the rule. So like when Omens opens up, you can't be higher than level 60 is the general idea. On top of that, there's some rewards you can claim for killing bosses underleveled like that. Most of those are interesting clickies. The food item is actually pretty good, for example, on a fresh TLP. But then when we come to the Cragbeast Queen, that's where our story begins. So this one is different. It gives you the option to get raid currency. For those of you who don't really play into the raid currency eras on TLPs, this reward is super amazing. It'd be like saying you can claim 3 pieces of Vulak loot from your claim window at the start of Velius. I was co-leading a guild on Eriduna at the time called Rampage. It had become pretty casual at that point, but this reward was just amazing. So we decided to give it a go with the strategy that we were going to level mages and throw pets at it. More on that idea later. I played the launch night itself, which I don't usually do since I don't tend to stay up real late. Actually missed out on doing the tutorial, which had really amazing newbie starting gear. But I did get picked up by a group in the top guild on the server, named Bindrush, who had someone not able to log in, so I took their spot. I was playing an enchanter for launch, and mostly what I remember was dying repeatedly in Gulf of Gunpak. I think I did manage to get 40 or very close to it on opening night, which is the max level, so that's a good start. I wasn't part of any guild at that point, so I wasn't able to join any of these adventures, but there was some wild stuff going on early in the server. In a few days, Bindrush had bound rushed down Avatar of War at level 40. As you can see here, there were quite a few deaths involved. Vaniki also has double loot, and there's some crazy corpses from time to time. This is from later on, obviously, but for those of you who like mischief loot, you would have loved Vaniki. So anyways, that looked like a blast, but fast forward to the level 55s era. I sadly don't have any footage of this attempt or the later one, but I'll just say that it didn't really go that well. I think we got it to like 98% or so. The problem was really that we couldn't keep it stationary enough, and the AE does some kind of snare, so the pets weren't engaged enough at the time to really do much damage. In any case, we weren't alone. The top guild, Bindrush, only got it to 92%, I'm told, and I think that's about the time they threw in the towel on the server. Broken game, am I right? I think ultimately what killed off most of the high-end population on Vaniki was that the devs were really just too slow to implement changes. It took literally ages to get the level adjusted on corruption cures, which I'm sure played a role in Rusty Willsapper falling apart. They were the next top guild on the server. They did manage to take down Stitch before disbanding though, so that's pretty impressive at least. Anyway, while all this was going on and the server was going to shit, Rampage decided to recalibrate a bit, and we went with that I'd gear a tank and have a go at it that way with a tank that had 35 heroic stamina, agility, etc. So here's your boy Worth. I think we did one raid with the whole team on Vaniki, but I had mostly geared him by joining Keepers of Destiny. That was real fun raiding in 2 guilds at the same time. He had really good augs and a combination of Takvi and Anguish gear when we went for the next attempt. So again, sadly, there's no live footage of this, but we were able to get it done. Kill time was about 3 minutes, 30 seconds, I think. I remember Furious into defensive and then using armor at the end, at which point it was dead. One thing we did learn that day is that if you engage with more than 54, she'll start punning people into the middle of the drink. Luckily, Worth didn't get punted, as he was one of just a few characters in that raid there that had much gear on him at all. So that's your world first Cragbeast Queen achievement kill on December 17th, 2022. Now the fun starts. One thing we realized is that the achievement is stackable. So basically, if you do the achievement with a new tune, you can get another claim on the same account. So that's just extremely powerful. How it's set up, you can kind of just get raid currency armor on a TLP indefinitely, since you could run the thing every week with new tunes. Well, the only tune that was any important at all to the raid is the tank, how we were running it at least. Defiant armor is fine on everyone else. We were planning to do just that, but wanted to check with the devs to make sure everything was above board. One of my co-guild leaders at the time, Zygorian, reached out to the main dev for the server at the time and got an explicit okay to go ahead on that. It sounded like some within the dev team even thought the reward should be higher than it was. So this was January 9th. Like I said, Rampage is a pretty casual guild, so we weren't planning to do it for some time, not every week at least. I had set up a small man crew for those weekly runs, and lo and behold, when we got into the instance about 5 or 6 weeks later, I think it was, there was no Cragbeast Queen in the pick. After a few attempts to launch the pick in different ways, and some pings on forum and Discord, this is the response the players were finally given. Apparently it's now an exploit to run a DZ every week. Now, I'm pretty sure the devs are actual people and not like the GMs where it's just whoever logs onto that customer service account name that day. But how did we get from go ahead and do it, and maybe even the reward should be increased, to calling it an exploit within a month and a half? That comes across as pretty clownish. The reasoning stated here at the time also didn't really make any sense. In order to hurt a server economy, you really need to be talking about a free trade server. So this must have been aimed at Furiona V or Mischief. Now, FV was months into NOS by that point, so while those claims were still great because the old raid gear is going to have good focuses on them, that's hardly groundbreaking. I mean, you'd probably be talking about like a chrono or two each per claim. Mischief hadn't even reached the Burning Sea yet, so there's no way it could have damaged that economy. It was definitely just a mystery what was going on here. So we did a little bit of digging and one of our spies figured it out. Basically, the big GDKP guild on Mischief named Treasures decided to weaponize the petition process to get this thing nerfed. Here you can see the post that Kellen made to his members to mass report it. Now, just a bit of background for full transparency. I used to be quite active in Treasures, and before that, Greed is Good. I helped out a lot with running the DKP sheet, which was pretty manual at the time. It's before Rogian had a lot of time to fix their stuff. Let me tell you about how fun Mischief Loot was live bidding on Eldon launch, with a fully manual spreadsheet for loot tracking and duplicate loots. Anyway, Kellen's generally a pretty good guy, so I'm not sure what's up here, especially as this thing is a drop in the bucket compared to all the rampant plat dupe problems Mischief has been having throughout the years. Anyway, the nerf finally comes out, and the reward is just completely gutted. This was super heavy-handed and over the top. If you want to restrict it so people can't claim it on Mischief because it was hurting the economy, even though it couldn't possibly have done so yet, whatever. But at least let folks claim it on the other TLPs. This is literally point 2 in your server launch Q&As that I showed earlier. And hundreds of people have spent untold thousands of hours trying for that only to be rug pulled. Further, is prioritization of weaponized petitions really a state that's good for the game? I suspect something else is going on here, but of course I have no way of ever proving that, or even now a suspicion of what exactly that might be. One of the stated aims of last year's TLP Oakwin was to reduce customer service reports, but it definitely looks like they work. So I'm just going to leave this as a memento both to my guild's world first achievement and a roadmap if people want some important rule changed in the future. I'm looking at you, Mangler. Also, now all the people who are wondering what the fuck happened with Vaniki and their hours wasted trying to get those Cragbeast Queen claims, now you know a little bit about what happened. All right, good luck out there, everyone.